Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Answer from the Stairs. I'm your host, Christopher Vester. This podcast is about lessons learned and with from high performing founders, presidents, and CEOs. And it's the lessons that you learn not at the top and really not at the bottom, but kind of during their climb of personal growth and success. And the stairs of success was what tests you. Failure teaches you. Growth demands that you change. And my guest today has lived that truth more than once. I've got Glenn Campbell, who is the co-founder of Lids. That he started that retail store brand that was all over America. How many stores did you have at one time?
1,500. I don't know where they're
15.
at right now, but we have 1,500, yeah, US and
Yeah,
Canada.
that's wild. It's really a brand that changed an entire industry. It was a really big disruptor, which is pretty cool. And now the founder of Make My Cap, that's the new venture that you're going into. And we're having a little discussion about that. He's going to make me some caps personally. Like I'm excited about that. But
Cool.
you've built, scaled, exited, and then chosen to climb again. But this time with some wisdom that only comes from the experience of doing it the first time.
Amen.
We're going to talk about those stairs that most leaders don't even see coming, the ones where your skills expire, your ego gets exposed, and identity has to evolve. And I think most guys listening to this that have been in your space or in that entrepreneurial space can relate to that. But Glenn, welcome, sir. I really appreciate your time today.
Chris, thanks for having me on. It's been great to get to know you, and it feels like I really know you. It's like the third time we've been on a call
Yeah,
together.
that's great.
So
And
I'm looking forward to it.
I was having a conversation with my dad just before we got on. I was like, I get to have a conversation with Glenn again. I was like, man, it's like every time we get on, it's supposed to be a 15-minute call, turns into 45 minutes.
Yep.
It's really good. I always begin, and I do this really more for scope, as with the guest's birthday. What's your
Sure.
birthday?
April 8th, 1965.
65. So you're
I turned
60. You'll be 60 years
six-
old,
I'll
man.
be 61 this year.
That's
So
right, 26.
I hit 60 last year. Boy, it was a tough one.
And I told Dad, just having conversation, I said, he's a little older than me, but same season of life. Like you've been
Right.
married about the same amount because you've been married just 29 years this year. Isn't that correct?
29. Exactly.
And I think your oldest child's in her early 20s. Am I correct?
She is early 30s.
Early
Early 30s.
30s.
Yeah.
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 So it's kind of the same season of
Yeah.
life.
But I do have some in the early 20s too. So I've
Yeah.
got them from 22 to 34. So yeah,
Gotcha. How many kids do you have?
I have four.
Four, right?
Four.
And it's boys and girls. Like you've got a
Okay.
mix.
My oldest is my daughter Marissa. She's 34. She's married. She's the only one married. She's a school teacher. Her and her husband both. They
Gotcha.
will never make a lot of money, but they are fulfilled and they're full. And
Awesome.
which I tell them, I said that's life is not about who has the most money. Life is about who is happiest and who can make people happy. And then I've got a son in Tampa who's 32. He's doing well. He works for Rippling. My son, 25, Eli's 25. He just graduated a few years ago. He actually works with me. And then my youngest is a senior down in Auburn. She graduates this May. She's going to be a nursing. She's going to be a nursing. So yeah.
That's cool. So I know there's been a lot since April the 8th, 1965 that's happened in your life, right? But is there a standout event that you would say forced you to outgrow the leader that you used to be? Like it was a moment that said, now's the moment I got to really grow.
Yeah, I think when we started Hat World, which became Lids, it was me and a buddy. We had worked for Foot Locker and we had saw the niche that was going to be headwear because people used to come in all the time to a Foot Locker store and bring their brand new kicks or buy brand new kicks, and they had nothing to hook it up to. They didn't have a hat to go with it. For instance, if the new purple Jordans come out, there was no purple hats on the wall that would go with it. Or and so people like to match. They like to, you looked at the championship game last night, you saw all the Miami and Indiana gear, and people just like to match. And so Scott Melander, my partner, and I both saw that. And so we would call around to the other Foot Locker stores and we would trade. We were both in Indianapolis. We would trade Colts hats for Broncos hats and Colts hats for Packers hats. We would try to get the most colorful, teams we could. We didn't care about the team. It was the color because people didn't care about the team. They just wanted it to match. And back then, we're talking pre-internet, um, it was hard to find a Charlotte Hornets hat. And that was a great color, purple and that teal, and that matched some shoes. And then you'd get something in the orange thing. You needed something from Denver or somewhere else, Syracuse Orangeman. So we just we were supposed to be selling shoes. We spent a lot of our time focused on hats. And so one day we woke up and decided that, I think we could make a go of this selling hats. And to answer your question, I think I think I was pretty good. I mean, I won every award that you could win at Foot Locker. I was manager of the year. I was a trainer. Um, but I had to step up. When we got to about 4 or 5 stores at Hat World, and it was that fork in the road where we had some investors came down and said, "Hey, we're willing to make this a regional chain or maybe even a national chain if you guys can do it." And at that time, I was the forward-facing founder. Scott was more of the back end. He loved computers and he loved, making sure the systems were up to date and the distribution center was good. That's where Scott was good. That's not the stuff I liked. I liked the people. I liked hiring the people. I liked going to malls, open up stores, hiring a crew and training them and then going on to the next thing. So it was then where I said, okay, big boy, you've managed a couple Foot Locker stores. We're going to grow this thing to 30, 40, 50 stores. Didn't know there was going to be 1,500 at some point, but it's time to put your big boy pants on and change, who you are and how you do things. It's no longer how good you are, it's how good can you make other people? Do other people want to work for you? Do they want to work for this company? Because heck, we were paying people less. They were working at Foot Locker. We were taking a lot of Foot Locker employees because they liked working for us. And we couldn't pay them at first. All we could do is promise them that we were going to grow. And if they did, they could grow with us. Well, it turned out to be true, but we didn't know it was true, and they didn't know it was true. And so I think that was the fork in the road when Paul Schock and Steve Kirby of Blue Stem Capital came down and said, "Boys, you have 5 stores in Indiana. How would you like to grow this thing? We've got a group of guys. We're going to give $1 million to 5 different startups, and you guys are on our radar. What do you think?" And so that's when we said, "Okay, let's see if we can do this thing." So
That's cool. That's awesome. So you spoke about having a partner in this who was, um, I'll say, equipped or gifted differently than you. Like his thought processes were different than you. How vital do you think that was of having the other side? My middle once told me I had a cousin that was the other side of my quarter. You know, how vital do you think it is to have that other voice in the room, and what would you think his opinion was of having you in the room because you like of the different skill sets?
right, I don't think I'd be here today doing what I'm doing if I don't have Scott Bolander in my life. He just took a job as president of his university up in Minot, North Dakota. North Dakota, yes. And so, I mean, he is in a stage of his life where we're both 60, and here he is, president of his university. But this guy, he's a teacher. He's a professor. He's always been that way. He's always had a soft hand and a soft heart. He could be gruffy because we always laugh at how his growl was. But man, and he's great in a crowd. He's awesome. If we have a group of 100 people, he'd hold his own. But his strengths were back end, and so and mine weren't. I could learn it. I liked accounting, didn't love it. I understand distribution, but don't love it. And so we really fed off each other. Thankfully, he didn't, I would get more of the limelight because of being out front. I went and met Jerry Jones and spent time with Jerry Jones down in Dallas. I'd go and meet the commissioners of the leagues because that's what I did. I did all the buying, I did all the stores. So, I'm meeting, Phil Knight of Nike, so I'm the face of the company. And he's sort of the wind beneath my wings. I say that to my wife a lot of times. I cast a big shadow because I've had some success and I've been out front. Well, just because I'm out front doesn't mean anything. I'm just a very small piece. But so many other people have been the wind beneath my wings, and have let me be the guy out front. But I would be zero without people like Scott Molander or my wife or hundreds of other people. So no, there's no doubt about it. It was a great thing that we met when we met.
I think in having conversations with guys, not just guys, but people in these kind of positions, I think that's a big turning point for most is to recognize, hey, I'm built a certain way. I'm going to need someone that's not built like me to keep this thing going. And you spoke
Right.
to your marriage. Like it's like that's the best thing a husband can do is recognize, hey, my wife is gifted different than me, and I'm going to give her the space to operate in that gift and in what God's given me in that investment and let her flourish in that space. So it's pretty cool.
Amen. That's true.
Um, yeah. What's something that you were great at early that eventually became a liability as a leader?
It's funny. I think my gift of gab. I have never met a stranger. It doesn't matter where we were at or what age I was. I've never met a stranger. But I think at times that's a detriment in the fact that I don't listen. And I've always said that, or I don't listen enough. I listen, but I don't. Sometimes my wife will accuse me of not hearing, and she's right. A lot of times, and this is something I truly, at this stage of my life, am truly trying to work on is being a better listener. So many times people talk to you not because they want your opinion. They don't want you to respond. They just want you to listen. Well, I've always, as soon as you start talking to me about a problem, my head's already spinning to the solution. That's not what we need to do. We need to sit back and let them talk and speak and maybe not offer a solution. Maybe they don't want a solution. Maybe there is no solution. They just need a conversation. Well, I am going to do my very best, whatever God has left for me to be a better listener and a less of a problem solver because it was my nature. And so I think the gift of talking's been has gotten me where I'm at, but it's also been a negative at times.
That's good. That's good. That's really good. So, you know, no doubt exiting a business would be considered in most people's eyes success, right? That's a lot of people that start something. Their ultimate goal is you started to exit, right?
Hmm. Sure.
What did success expose about you that failure never did?
Um, that's a great question. What does success expose that failure never did? Um, I don't know. I don't think I still don't know that I would say I'm successful. And I know people say that all the time, and people want to credit you for what you did, but I don't know, man. I don't look at success the way some people do. It's not. I think the success of my life has came in the lives that I've changed. And so, and I can go back to so many people. Some are still with lids, some are moved on, some are doing other things, but I can look at friends. I think lives touched and the difference you made in people's lives. And I don't even know that you know it sometimes. I had 10,000 employees, much like you have a lot of employees. You don't even know sometimes what small thing you did or big thing or whatever, you have no idea how it impacted their lives unless they tell you. And most of the time they don't get a chance to tell you. But I think if I can meet my maker someday, it's not about the money I made, the exit that happened could have been bigger. Could we have done things better? Sure, we could have. I think it's more about the lives that I've changed. So I that's what I call success. And I'm still trying to be successful because every day I'm trying to change a different life. I'm trying to, help somebody else out, a stranger that I meet or people that I do know, or even my kids right now, trying to make them the best they can possibly be with the lessons that I've learned. So yeah, I don't know that I've never sat back and truly gone, wow, what a story that was. Now, people have written about it. We've had podcasts and stuff like that. I've not written a book. I swear to you that I've been talking about it for 20 years. I know you've written books, but I don't know that I don't know that I'll ever sit back and just say it was success. I fail so much, and I can say that in my faith. I can say that in a lot of things. I fail more than I succeed. So to say you're a success, is I don't know if there is a success. especially if you're talking in your faith in the eyes of God. What is that success? That success, he sure didn't ask us to make the most money and buy the
No.
biggest yacht and the biggest house and two houses and three houses. I've had multiple houses for a long time. That's not success. It's what have I done for him lately?
That's
And
good.
so that's that. And so I'm constantly trying to be a better human being in his eyes and for him and for his glory. And so I don't know that you can ever say that you are a success until you get to the end. And then
Yeah.
somebody else can tell you, was he
Well,
successful? Did he make a difference? Is he up there with his maker? I mean, that's when people can let them judge. I don't know. That's
yeah,
a long answer, but
no, it's a great answer. It's a great answer. Um, so I think in the middle of growth, sometimes everything feels rush, 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 rush. What's something now? Because again, you've exited one, and now there's this process of growing something new. What's something you do slower now on purpose that you realize that you rushed through the first time?
yeah, no, I make sure every chance I get, I tell the people that are working with me how much I appreciate it. I told you before we got on here, I had a meeting this morning. I think it's so important to just tell people. I look at my wife more often, tell her I love her. I I slow those things down. I ask, her birthday was yesterday. She turned 55. And, I ask, what do you want to do? And she said, you know what I want to do? I want my toes in the sand sometime this month. So we're leaving tomorrow for Naples and we're going to find sand somewhere. I'm not a beach guy. I'd rather be on a lake or
Me too.
or at a pub looking at the lake. you know. But she loves a good book. She reads a ton, and she loves a good book. And she doesn't like that. She doesn't do them with the ear pods, and she likes to read a real book. And she'll grab 5 or 6 books and out in the sand. Maybe there's a cocktail involved, maybe there's not, and she just wants to sit there with her toes in the sand and just and do it. And so, I said, hey, no matter what happens in the next 7 days, we are going far enough south where it's going to be warm and you're going to find sand, and that's what we're going to do. So I look at other people more often versus looking at myself. Um, it was so much about I don't know when you're climbing the ladder and you become successful, like in terms of what people deem successful, the company's growing. It's 180 million. It's $1 billion company making 180 million dollars, and blah blah blah, and all this stuff. You can start drinking that Kool-Aid, right? Because I'm sitting at the Super Bowl with somebody, and the reality kicks in when you get back home and you got real life issues. You're right. It's nobody that your kids don't care about that. What Phil Knight said. And they don't care about Jerry Jones. And they don't care about any of the other. They don't care who you met. They just want you to be present. So I try to. I try to be more present. I think that would be my answer. Is I try to be more present than I've ever been, and that's even. I'm doing the Bible in a year this year, and it's a listening to it, right? Um, and sometimes I'll follow along with the Bible. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll sit and I'll just listen. And it's so hard for me because my wheels spin so fast that God, even 20, 25 minutes of thinking of nothing other than just the word is hard. And so I'm just trying to be more present, and I find that hard to do in a 25 minute. There are people, I envy people that can do that and just turn everything off and let their minds be still. Mine just never is still.
That's so good. That's so good. And when we talk about that, and we talk about like to me, I always see it as one step. Sometimes they're not always steps up, but there's always a step, right? Sometimes it's like 3 steps forward and 2 steps down, and you know, what's the step that should never be skipped?
I think, well, I would think your faith. I mean, just your trust in
That's good.
God. I went to a Catholic grade school, went to Catholic school. We were cradle Catholics. My mom, if you didn't hit those knees at night, and if you didn't go to church, I mean, that was, and so you got pushed so hard that once you got to college, you got on your own. I could skip once in a while, and I did. I mean, I did. Christ wasn't as important in my life from 22 to 30, and then when you get married again, you start having kids, then you realize you want to raise them the right way, and you want to you want to show them the example the right way. So I think no matter how I had, grew up Catholic, a lot of my family, not immediate family, but some of my immediate family, but cousins. My mom's one of 12, so we have a bunch of cousins.
Wow.
Back when some of the stuff was coming out about the priests and the altar boys and some of the terrible stuff that happened in the Catholic Church that got brushed under the rug, so many people left the Catholic religion. They didn't just leave the Catholic Church. A lot of my family, they just quit going altogether. They didn't even. So it's like God existed, and I trusted Him, I loved Him, but now a few human beings made mistakes that were awful mistakes, and yet I'm going to punish God. I'm just going to say no, I'm not going anymore because it's just not right. And I feel bad for people that did that because I don't know. I've got a brother that's an atheist. I've had a boss that's an atheist. I feel for people that don't believe because I don't know what brings you hope if you don't believe in Christ. I don't know. And I am certainly not the guy that can quote the Bible or can tell you um, all those things. Again, I sin and I'm a failure in many ways, but I can tell you if I didn't have that part of my life, it would have went off the rails many times. And so I would say if you're young, listen to this. If you're middle aged or older, find Christ at some point in your life. Make him the focal point. I'm not saying you got to get down on your knees 3 hours a day and you don't have to read the Bible every day. You make it your own. You've got to make faith your own, whatever that is, but you have to have him in your life. If you don't, I don't know how you I don't know how you get to the finish line with any sort of fulfillment if you don't.
Right. And you and I've had lots of conversation about, that foundation. Would you say that's because it's obviously a part of your life now in that series of where you're growing the business? Because a lot of times this is what I find true about myself. I can almost make anything an idol, right?
Oh,
And
sure.
I mean, and even to some degree, you can make your children an idol. And that sounds, people won't understand that. But was there a time in the growth of it that you say, hey, looking back, I had my focus on the wrong thing. And if I'd have had my foundation where it is now, I feel like things would have been different.
100%, 100%. I'm an impulse guy. I'm a risk taker. I don't want to say fly by the seat of my pants, but there are times I have done that where Scott wasn't, we had some good financial guys and then Scott, who were the guys that kept pulling the reins back. Well, for me, some of those would be alcohol at times, right? When you're out and you're traveling 10 nights in a row, and some of those would have been gambling. We were in Vegas 4 or 5 times a year. I enjoy gambling. I enjoy blackjack. A lot there are things like that in my life that at a point were a part of my life, a bigger part of my life than they should have been. And family wasn't, instead of coming home and being with the family, I would meet with my buddies and we'd go watch a game, when I should have been home with my family. We traveled to Vegas when we didn't need to travel to Vegas. Um, because we enjoyed that high of the sports book or the whatever. And so yes, there's been times in my life that other things have gotten in the way. If I knew now and have followed Christ, and I still trip every day, but if I was more present in my religion and my faith at 30 as opposed to 60, it would have been different. I don't know if the money would be different. I don't know, but I can certainly tell you relationships would be different. And I feel like I've got some strong, great friendships and with my wife and friends, but I think with my two brothers it would have been different. Maybe even with my mom and dad, they're both deceased, but yeah, it wasn't it was in my life. It just wasn't the focus of my life.
Right. So that climb actually has a personal cost, right? I mean, you're able to go back and look at it and say, okay, what with the idea of worldly success, right? That definition, like I think you framed it really well. Like I think success is at the end of it, you know, and how do people remember me? I love that. But but in the moment when you're here, you can look back and go, okay, well, because of this wavering, I'll call it that, or
Sure.
the lack of focus, then there's a personal cost to me. And how can I do it different now, which is what's got you grounded in that now, which is an awesome story to tell. If and
For you, I mean, if you woke up tomorrow and the car dealership went bankrupt for some reason, you made some decision and it was somebody made a decision and the thing fell apart and your basis for your income is gone. I don't even know what all your incomes are, but if that's the main source, let's just pretend it is, and that went away tomorrow, would people think less of you because you're worth less money or you don't own a dealership? I mean, because if that's the case, then you've got other things you need to look at, right?
amen, brother. That could not have been like that's a huge statement. That's a really good statement. Is
Because
if
you,
it
you've changed lives. I mean, this podcast and the stuff that you and your wife do, those are the important things. Yes, I am blessed to have had the opportunity to that your father started a business that you got involved in. You're very successful, and you've always said you have great people. Hey, I've got a great CFO, a great COO. But if that all ended tomorrow, I think about this. If it all ended tomorrow and my bank account was zero, I think I'd still be okay. I think I can still work. I can still figure it out. As long as I have the love of my family and friends, I think I'd be okay. The things I wanted at 30 and 40 that I thought were important, big houses and cars and boats, and that they're not important to me anymore. I mean, I'll still drive a nice car, but if I didn't drive a nice car, I'd be okay with that too. I mean, but I couldn't have said that 10 years ago. I could say that today.
yeah, and as you're starting this next venture, like based on what we're just having this great conversation about, is there something that because of that you refuse to repeat? Like, hey, I see that as a point where I'm never going to do that again.
Yeah. No, when I started this, I told my wife, and she laughs. She goes, "You got to keep busy. You just need to." And she's right, and I am not worried about how big this thing gets. I told my team today, we grew from 400,000 first year to 1,600,000 last year. Um, my goal this year is, we're looking at a 2.5 or 2.6, year, which would be a profitable year in year three, and that was the plan. But I told him, I said, I'm not, back in the lids days, especially once we were bought by a public company, it was all about the monthly numbers and the quarterly numbers and the, hitting certain milestones. And this thing, I want to just enjoy the ride. We're selling hats I mean, for lack of better terms, there's a lot of tougher jobs than just selling baseball caps or cars, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of people that truly have to work for a living. I mean, work, work.
Mhm.
And so we're blessed to be able to do this. Let's just do this. Let's just take care of the customer. I said, if we take care of the customer, we will never lose. We will win every time. If we have to give their money back, we give it back and we apologize. If we if whatever we have to do to make that customer, you can never lose if the customer's happy. And I go,
That's
that
good.
is one thing that I am going to make sure we do. We just had a situation happen yesterday, and we had our newer employee, Austin. He's been with me about 2 months, but he said, Glenn, look at this cap. The guy sent me a picture, and then look at his art proof. They're identical. I go, they are. What a great job the embroidery team did. And he goes, he's beside himself saying it's just not very good based on the art he sent us. Well, the art, everybody's sending you AI now. Well, hell, some of that stuff can't be embroidered and people don't understand it, right? So I just told Austin, I said, hey, you let him know that is the very best we can do with what we're able to do. We will gladly refund his money, which we did. He can keep the cap, and it is what it is, but we're sorry. And the guy reached out and now he wants to talk to me about it. Now we have refunded the guy's money and he told Austin yesterday he wanted to escalate it to me. And I told Austin, I go, you did nothing wrong. I read your email. It was perfect. That's exactly what I want you to send. Sometimes people get on there and they see a founder, they see something. I will reach back out to this guy and have a conversation. But at the end of the day, he's going to win. He's going to get whatever he wants, and I don't care. I love it. I'll sleep better at night when you when you get angry at customers, and most of the time the customer's not right. Really, we did everything we were supposed to do. Their expectations were just way too high. But who cares? You feel terrible when you win by telling them that they're wrong. You actually lose, and that's what I told myself. It's counterintuitive, but I'm telling you, from a guy that's been in customer service all his life, you will feel better if you take care of that customer, no matter what you have to do.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
That's what we're doing this time. We're
Yeah.
we're gonna we're gonna win one by one. We're gonna win and the 5-star reviews we've gotten and all of the feedback. I every 5-star review, I reach back out to the customer. We've had 1,200, 1,300 5-star reviews. So that means there's 1,200 customers I personally emailed. And I bet you half those emails people reach back out and go, God, really cool. The founder reached out to me. And so we start a conversation because anytime I reach back out to them the first time, I look at where they live, I look at what the hat was, and I find out something small. I can say something. This guy, he made a hat for him and his dad. They won their fantasy football league. My comment was, congratulations to you and your dad for winning the league this year. My team didn't even make the playoffs. Well, hell, now we've got a conversation going back and forth. And I always tell my staff, I go, I've hooked them. I mean, where else are they going to go to buy hats? They actually now they know me, even though they've never met me. Now they know me, and so whether they have to do two hats, one hat, or 1,000, we are going to get a shot at it. And that is something that AI can't do. That is something that chat bots can't do. We have to continue to be personal, phone calls, emails, text messages. In this world of non-contact, we have to be more contact. And if we do that, we'll grow to a nice little 5 or 10 or $15 million business, whatever the good Lord's got in mind, and we'll have fun doing it. And
Yeah.
so that's sort of where I'm at the second time.
It actually reminds me of a conversation my CEO and I were having in like you said it, in a space where everybody's trying to be less contact wins
Wins.
100% of the time. It just
I mean,
does because people are built to be tribe. They're built to love people. Like they're built to want to be involved with a human, with a person. It's
well,
good.
you're in your business. I've got 6 buddies that own car dealerships in this area. I know every one of them. I've bought my buddy owns Ford, my buddy owns Toyota, my buddy owns Chevy. I know all of those guys. And I always tell them, I go, you guys have got you don't always do it, but you've got this power because I don't know. Most people that buy cars don't know a lot about cars. So I'm 2 years into a car, 30,000 miles, 32,000 miles, and something crazy happens to it. And maybe my warranty was only 30,000 miles. You have the power to keep me for life, or you have the power to never see me again if you don't take care of that. Warranty, schmoranty, I don't care. I go, you got, because it's big. We're talking hats, we're talking dollars. You're talking cars, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars. People sometimes, hell, they can't even afford they can barely afford the car. If it's a $2 or $3,000 repair, they're done. They can't, that car may have to sit. You have the power. That's why I tell my buddies, I go, where I buy cars is where the service is the best. I text message a guy, Chris Calder. I text him, he goes, Glenn, drop the car by anytime. Chris, I need the oil changed. He goes, just drop it by, put your keys in the box. Hey, I need this for my daughter. Tell her to stop by. We'll fill up the air in her tires. I text him, it happens. It's automatic. That's where I go. I don't care what he sells, what he charges me, that's where I go. And how hard is that? All he does is answer my text messages. It's pretty easy.
It's
But
just contact.
and Chris, people find that so hard to do. I don't, that's where I'm flabbergasted in today's society is. I tell my kids now, you are living in the AI chatbot, no contact. If you become a unicorn and you call people and you talk to people, even your internal people in your building, you will become very important to that company.
Yeah.
And it's nothing more than just who you are anyway.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, it's truth. And it's such good truth. So and I want to be super respectful of your time. Last question would be if someone's sitting in a space right now where they're really considering quitting, like they just they're exhausted and they're not seeing the fruit of the work. What's your advice?
Well, I tell you, nothing worthwhile will ever be easy. Um, we play the lottery from time to time when it gets to $1 billion because my wife and I talk about it. If we won $1 billion, I would give every penny away, every single penny. Maybe I would put a few dollars in a kid's trust fund or maybe the great grandkids trust funds that I don't even have yet, by the way.
Right.
I don't even have grandkids. Maybe you do some things like that. But by and large, I wouldn't buy another house. I don't need another car. I would have so much fun changing people's lives. And so, you know, anything good in life does not come easy. So if you're having, and I've been through a couple things in my life where I go, Lord, I mean, this is a tough one. I'm not sure I can climb that mountain. I think you have to look at, that's where I think faith is so important. If you look at what Christ did for us, just think about what, I mean, carrying. When I go to church, I look for the statues on the wall, where Jesus is carrying the cross, and you get knocked down and scourged at the pillar, and you look at all of those things, and I always think, no matter what I'm going through, I look what he went through, but no matter what I'm going through, there is somebody else going through way, way worse. So I would truly say, hey, communicate with somebody and try to keep a perspective, because even as bad as something might get, um, where grass might look greener, or Chris's life might be better, or Glenn's life. I want Glenn's life. I want to be like Glenn's got a beautiful wife and he's nice kids, and I want to be Glenn. I'm telling you, the grass is never, ever, ever, ever greener. We all have our crosses to bear. I have mine. I've went through them. I still do it today. I still fail and I get back up. And I think that's all we can ask in life. I think that's what God asks us, and I think that's what we can ask ourselves is, when we get knocked down, just get back up. Just get back up. Find somebody that you love to help you and get back up. Because I'm telling you, it's when you do and you get through whatever that is that you get through, the other side tastes so much sweeter. It really does.
Good. That's really good. Well, Glenn, I want to say, man, I really, truly appreciate our time together. I have enjoyed every single conversation. This connection came because of one of your hats. I had a mutual friend of ours had on a hat, and we were having a conversation. I was like, hey, if I get a logo on my hat, will you wear my hat? He goes, only if you buy a good hat. you
That's
know,
all.
but yeah, I really appreciate your time. I think you've had some amazing insights, and I love how you tied it all together, man. I really appreciate you, bud.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. It feels like we've been talking 10 minutes and it's been 45, which is great. Yeah, no, when you, and again, I look forward to at some point meeting you face to face and sort of getting down there and walking and seeing what you're doing, because you're doing some, at least just in the short time I've known you, you're really doing some good things. And what you're going to do with this new concept, and I'm not going to give it away, with the hats that we're doing for you, that's interesting. I'm curious as to how that's all going to play out. I'm looking forward to finding out. So
I appreciate that. Thank you for that encouragement, Billy.
you bet, you bet. Good luck.
Thank you,
Take
bud.
care. Have a great week and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
All right.